This is going to be my preview for the Bengals-Chiefs AFC Championship game rematch. I liken this to a pickup basketball situation, outdoor basketball, where one team has won maybe one or two games in a row, and they're holding the court so winner stays on, and the losing team keeps saying, run it back, run it back. Now, I'm not talking about if there's three teams waiting to play, so you lose and you've got to sit and wait for a while. I'm talking about if there's only like 15 guys there, maybe 10 or 12, and that losing team can say run it back. But in my experience, there's a lot of times where that losing team asking for the rematch, they don't really want it. They don't really mean it, but they got to save face. They've got to say it out loud. Now, I don't know if that applies to this situation, whereby the losing team is saying, run it back, let's run it back, let's run it back right now. But they don't really mean it. I'm not obviously in that situation. The winning team is the Bengals, and the losing team is the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't been extremely loud. There's a little bit of social media stuff going back and forth about linebackers and stuff. What they're talking about, the offenses. I don't really pay attention to that. I'll be honest with you. I have conflicting thoughts about this game. I really do. The Bengals have won 3 straight, all very, very close, mind you. 34-31. In the 2021 regular season, and then a pair of 27-24 wins. You'll hear me flipping pages, so forgive me for that. That win last year in the 2021 regular season really laid the blueprint for that AFC Championship game upset. It really did. Overall, in the 3 games that the Bengals have won in a row, the score differential is only 88-79, and the Bengals defense has had to play quite well for periods of time. 2 second halves. The second half of the 2021 regular season game, they shut Mahomes down. And the second half of the AFC Championship game last year, they absolutely broke the Chiefs' offense. But they had to do that just to eke out, a close win. Look, we're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about all 3 games. To be honest with you, the first one in the regular season, Evan McPherson wins 34-31 on a field goal with no time left. But the Chiefs scored 4 times in the first half. 4 consecutive touchdowns in the first half to take a 28-17 lead. McPherson would also have the game winner, obviously, in the AFC Championship game last year. Eerily similar game. Chiefs race out to a 21-3 lead, I think. It's 21-10, and they wasted that final possession. Obviously, they could have made it 24-10, but they eschewed that, decided to go for it, I think, on 4th down. Eli Apple tackles Tyreek Hill. Chiefs eventually did force overtime again, just like that regular season game. They were able to tie it, but that one didn't force overtime. McPherson wins it following a Von Bell interception. In my opinion, the Chiefs' defense and Lou Anarumo, they broke the Bengals' defense and Lou Anarumo. They broke the Chiefs. They really did. They broke them in that AFC Championship game. They showed them that the regular season game was not a fluke. And then the Bengals beat them again this year, 27-24. But the formula was different, okay? And I'm almost done with my lead, and then we'll get to some video. The formula was different this year, and the Chiefs did some things that makes me have pause when I just try to assume, okay, the Bengals are going to win 4 straight. And this is where I should tell you, what I think of the Bengals defense. And some of you who watch my channel a lot, I think incredibly highly of the Bengals defense. First of all, they challenge everything. I'm going to show a series of plays, maybe 6 plays from this year. They challenge everything. They challenge at the first level, the D-line, by trying to get a pass rush, obviously on pass plays. But if they don't, they tip passes. That's the first level. They challenge at the second level. The linebackers are physical. They contest everything. They're versatile. They're tough. They identify formations. I continue to talk about that on my channel. They identify situations where they can kind of be predictive on the play. Pat Ricard going in motion generally means the Ravens are running the ball, to this side, to the top side. Now, they're doing it in a somewhat different way in 2022. Now, this is a weird version of what the Ravens are doing. They're actually trying to use their own tendencies and the Bengals' response against them. But in this case, they're running a DN down the line, I think sample, for the running back. And then they're bringing the slot off the edge for Lamar Jackson, the quarterback. So they've accounted for the 2 phases in the option here. There's no triple option under the center, as we all know it from existing in football for 60 years. You only have 3 phases: dive, which is the fullback; quarterback, the second phase; or pitch. The Ravens only operate with 2 phases, and thereby the Bengals only need 2 defenders to account for it. And then their great pursuit allows them to get to the football. I like them better in zone. But they play a lot of quarter stuff, a lot of half field coverages, and I understand on third downs, they got to go to a man defense at certain points in time. They challenge everything. They make life difficult. It is not fun as a fan of an AFC North team to watch your offense have to go against these guys. Now the Ravens offense had its own issues, don't get me wrong, but the Bengals can contest your pass plays, your play action pass plays, your direct run plays, your bootleg stuff, everything that you try to do, they are built to contest. I'm going to make my second basketball analogy. I made this one earlier in the year. They remind me of the Pistons when they had Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton when they won an NBA championship. This play right here, I'm going to stop and I'm going to run back. It's one of my favorite plays from watching football in the last couple of years, trying to analyze the game and provide content for people. Back to my reference. The Pistons challenged everything. Remember they beat the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe in the finals. Karl Malone, Gary Payton was on that Lakers team too. So they were older and they were slower. Pistons was more athletic, but they had athletes everywhere. Everybody they brought in was an athlete. Everybody they had on the court was tough. I mean, how tough was Chauncey Billups? The Titans have done this multiple times in the past 3 or 4 years. 2 tight ends, 12 personnel to one side. They bring in a receiver. This is from 2021 film because you see A.J. Brown on the field. They bring in a receiver, and they're trying to run this football. They're trying to move people this way, offensive linemen this way, trying to get defensive linemen moving that way. And then it gives Henry the option to just hit it downhill, maybe behind that mass of humanity, or bounce it outside. And what are they doing? They're isolating the corners. They're isolating the DBs. It's just a different way to do the same thing that a lot of the Shanahan offenses do, which is isolate the corner, force them to tackle. What have the Bengals done? They've taken a DN, outside linebacker, Sample, and they put him on the tight end, head up. And he's only looking at the tight end. He's not worried about the backfield. He's not worried about the quarterback, rushing the passer. This is an unselfish defense. That's why I like them so much. They will do their job. Bates fitting inside, forcing Henry to bounce it. Sample, Bates. Bates gets off the block. We'll show you the end zone angle. Maybe you don't get as excited about plays like this as I do, but you'll see the flow of what these guys do. Whatever problem you give this Bengals defense, if it's algebra, let's say, whatever problem you give them, they have the ability to solve it. They have the ability to line up to it and match it. And that's the thing that, for me, makes them fun to watch, even though, as a Ravens fan, they beat us twice this year. Look, this is going to be a possession in 2021 playoffs against the Titans where the Titans get things rolling downhill. My analogy for the Pistons is, I feel like, consistent. Here's why. They would compete across the 94 feet of the basketball court. The Bengals are the same way. The closer you get to the goal line, the more competitive they are, the more physical they are. They're a great tackling team. Now, you will see a big run here in a moment, I think, for 25 yards that they don't tackle well on. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to move past this end zone angle of this play and past that one. Forgive me. All right, 2 more plays here because you got the backup running back in, and he busted some big runs. I thought the Titans should have given him the ball more in that division round playoff game last year. Almost takes this one to the house. Bengals are getting gashed by the run game. Now, you could say that it's a tactical mistake by the Titans to go to an RPO, and I would agree with you on the next play. But everyone for the Bengals defense, all of their DBs, they tackle and they cover. That's a unique group because usually you're talking about, you'll have one corner who's not a tackler. You'll have one corner who is a tackler and maybe isn't a cover guy. This is a great play that changed the shape of this game. It's an RPO. I think the Titans outsmarted themselves. Mike Hilton's going to blitz off the edge. He's got the running back to his side and make a play that just shows you what they have a knack for doing this. There's people, Ravens fans on my channel, who said, they're lucky. Well, I mean, you can call it whatever you wish, and I'll co-sign that. That's fine. But they do this consistently. And it reminds me of the Pistons defenses, like I said, whereby they would challenge people, they would put their hands on people, they would deflect passes. If there's usually 6 passes deflected in a game, that Pistons team deflected 11. If there's usually 3 blocks in a game, that Pistons team would block 6. They just did more. They were more active, and there is something to be said for that on the football field, in life, wherever, at your job, just being more active. This is a team that is active as hell. And like I said, they challenge everything. And I think it's got to go back to Lou Anarumo. I mean, I really do. The entire Chiefs The entire Bengals defense deserves credit for how tenacious they are, but and they've got a great group there. Don't get me wrong, that you have to have talent. Everything you do, they want to make it difficult. Are there things that the Bengals give up? Are there things where they leave openings? Yeah, but they play a great shell game whereby you don't know what they're giving up on any particular play because they're so multiple in coverage. It doesn't matter who you are. You've got to figure out where that opening is pre-snap, and you don't know. We don't know pre-snap that Devin Duvernay is going to be wide open running up the right sideline. We're trying to navigate pressure as a Ravens offensive line, and Lamar's trying to deal with it as well and doesn't realize that guy's open, doesn't even see him clearly. Not blaming Lamar Jackson. I'm saying the Bengals do a great job of cumulative pressure on the quarterback because they change the quarterback's decision-making on every snap. And again, I think it's got to go back to this guy. All right, now, having said all that, I've told you what I love about their defense, and I didn't go in really specifics or really real detail and really break down any plays. I don't like to jump to conclusions, though, and I'm going to be honest with you. I went back and watched the Chiefs' offense against the Bengals in Week 13, and the Chiefs have a lot available to them that was available in the AFC title game last year. And you heard me pump up. You heard me talk glowingly about the Bengals defense for probably 5 minutes. They're tenacious. They're smart. All of those things. But the Bengals have things that they leave open against this Chiefs offense. I'm going to go and I'm going to show you 2 possessions from the AFC title game last year. And I think the Chiefs have seen a lot of Lou Anarumo's tricks. And he is fantastic, and their players are fantastic at adjusting at halftime and forcing you as an offensive play caller to try to play that shell, try to figure out where the shell is. What coverage are they in? And then when are they in that coverage, and then how can we exploit it? So I think they not only slow down the quarterback's processing, I think they slow down the offensive coordinator as well. And that's one thing that we as Ravens fans, we recognize, even though the Ravens offense played quite well, to be honest with you, in those two weeks in a row outside of turnovers. Okay, second possession of the third quarter, 2021 AFC title game. And the Ravens used this. Multiple teams have this year. The Chiefs identified that this was there. What I mean when I say this was there is running back lined up to one side and then crossing the quarterback's face and leaking out into the flats on the other side from where he lined up. What they're doing is they're trying to isolate a linebacker. They're trying to get these guys out of there. Get those DBs out of there. I didn't mean to change that speed. My apologies. Now, it doesn't result in a big gain here, but this is a concept that will result in a touchdown in a regular season game in 2022, which I'll show you in a couple minutes. This is there for the Chiefs. The running back and the Ravens use this to get a touchdown pass to J.K. Dobbins down near the goal line. This year in the wildcard playoff loss to the Bengals, and it worked. The Chiefs used it in the 2022 regular season game, which, like I said, I will show you film of. All right, this play right here, they should have run 6 or 8 times. They only ran it 3. Jet sweep under center into the boundary. One of the things that the Bengals do, that everybody does, is they line up their nickel to the field generally. Generally, the Chiefs are putting Travis Kelce into the boundary. You can see they got 2 tight ends here. So we're talking 12 personnel under center, and the nickel is on the field for the Bengals. So against 12 personnel last year, nickel defense is what the Bengals went to personnel-wise. Jet sweep into the boundary, I think averaged like 8.7 per play. So 9 per play in that game last year. I think it was 3 plays for 29 yards. 3 plays for 28, 29 yards. It was Mecole Hardman. And they built plays off of this. You can see that they're leaving Sam Hubbard unblocked. He's got a lot going on. Mecole Hardman's too fast. Just gets around the edge. That play was available to them. They should have run it more. It could be available this year. Again, you see Travis Kelce into the boundary. The delay run is there. It was there last year. When I say delay run, off beat. Now, this is F counter, so they're pulling and they're kicking out Hendrickson, which I would not recommend you trying to survive on. Hendrickson, when he's unblocked, he will step down. He's a very classic, he's almost a 5'2 defensive end against the run. I don't mean that at all in a derogatory way against the pass. Against the run, unblocked, he will step down and he will collision and condense the gap. But the delay run is there for the Chiefs, and it was last year. I thought that they were at like 6 yards per carry last year, and I think that's one of the ways that they can change the dynamic of this game, change Lou Anarumo's processing. And I think that's going to be one of the things that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy try to do. The jet sweep into the boundary, the delay run. Travis Kelce's obviously, questionable, so who knows what his status will be. I think he's going to play. I think that's clear, but how healthy will he be? The rush 3 stuff. I mean, Lou can't change it anymore. He can't rush 2, right? But when they do this, this is a better option for Sunday, and this is for tonight's game. Now, it's a better option this year because Mahomes is theoretically, we would imagine he's going to be more limited, in terms of his mobility. The 3-man rush with the drop that is a spy after disrupting something is a brilliant tactical move. Usually they use it when Travis Kelce is within like 4 or 5 yards of the right tackle, so they'll just try to disrupt him in some manner. Jam him up. Now, they don't really jam him here. He's a little too wide for Sam Hubbard to jam. But you see the 3-man rush. Hendrickson falls down. Hubbard's got his eyes. He was just fitting inside of Kelce, guys. They're doing this to the boundary a lot to help out with Kelce. Ravens tried it in 2021 regular season unsuccessfully. Kelce ended up scoring on a 47-yard touchdown. Look, when it comes time to do it, though, the Bengals can play man. There's no doubt about it. That's what they like to do. When they bring Trey Flowers in, they match him up with the tight end. But you can see the Bengals are still setting up to jam Travis Kelce. Look at Hubbard's alignment up here. Up at the top, boundary side, where Kelce normally is located. I'm going to be very interested to see where the Chiefs deploy Kelce. If they widen him up in their 11 personnel, or if they go 12 personnel and widen him up and have another tight end lined up inside. And are the Bengals going to jam that tight end? Well, no, because he's not as dangerous a receiver as Travis Kelce is. All right, this is a 3rd down. Like I said, second possession of the third quarter. The game had changed. The Bengals were in the process of, like I said, I think they really mentally broke that Chiefs team in the AFC title game last year. They showed them that the regular season win was not a fluke. 4th possession, third quarter. Again, you have this motion, which was a jet sweep play. Now they're building the screen off of it. It ends up being an incomplete pass. But this is one of the things you like about Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy is you have a successful concept, the jet sweep into the boundary, and then they build a screen off of it. I just don't think attacking back to the field where Mike Hilton is your best option for the Chiefs. Me personally, with the Bengals' refusal to rotate people down on motion, this motion, they do not want to spin a safety and then roll back to cover 3. I've covered this many times before, which is just kind of like your classic reaction, okay, because you have the nickel here to the field who can help out with the flats. So you can do that. It's kind of like your classic reaction, sky cover 3. The Bengals don't want to do that. They don't want to walk the corner up either. They want to stay in their shell that could be any coverage. They want to slow down the quarterback's processing. What they will do on that motion sometimes, depending on the coverage, is they'll run the inside linebacker out of there. Well, that just opens up the run game even more. I'm going to tell you, I think the run game is a real option for this Chiefs team. Not because I expect it to just overwhelm the Bengals. Hell no, they'll adjust to everything. But because it shortens the game, they can utilize the Bengals' refusal to rotate safeties against them. They can run the jet sweep all day long and get the inside. The Bengals' answer is going to be to widen the inside linebacker up. For real, that's what it's going to be. Another example of Kelce into the boundary, lined up close, gets a completion on a 2nd down. This is going to be a stop, by the way. And we know Mahomes will be limited. Like I said, this is film from the AFC title game. I'm flipping through some pages. My apologies if you hear that. And we're going to get to film of this year's game. I know it's a long preview, but I don't know what else you have to do on a Sunday until the game starts. It's a long time to wait until the 6:30 game. First play, I think 4th quarter, the fields had flipped, and the Bengals go man. 3-man pressure again. And you can see Mahomes is looking for somebody, just nobody's open. From the end zone angle, you'll see the chaos. Can you imagine Mahomes trying to do this on his ankle with the status that it is? And this is why I say I think the run game, the jet sweep, screens is going to be a real option for this Chiefs team, especially early in the game. And why do I say that? I think it could force Lou Anarumo to be put on the back foot. Could force him to be the guy to adjust. And he will adjust, all right? We know he will adjust at halftime. All right, this is going to be filmed from the 2022 regular season game. If it was took me too long to get here, my apologies. But I think that's important to show context. And I was trying to show you some concepts that worked, and early on I was trying to set you up by glowingly talking about the Bengals defense, and now I'm going to tell you that I think the Chiefs offense can score on them. Can they score 35? Well, no, I don't think so. The key is, can they score 28 or 31 efficiently without turnovers? The Chiefs didn't get stopped in this game. I mean, they got stopped once. I'm going to go through their possessions. This is 2022, Week 13 at Cincinnati. First possession, 10 plays, 65 yards, field goal. Check it out. Run into the boundary, by the way, out of 12 personnel. Actually, it's 13. Huge running lane. Nickel is set to the field. This is the nickel. Run into the boundary. Looks like a good option for them. Normally, you don't get the Bengals DNs just falling down like that. 10 plays, 65 yards, field goal, first possession. Second possession, punt. Third possession for the Chiefs. 14 plays, 81 yards, touchdown. Fourth possession was the end of the half. There was just no time left. Look, boot into the boundary. So they're bringing him back into the boundary and bringing receivers across from the other side. And I think you get Juju just sitting down on the hash. Just a nice little landmark. Mahomes finds him. Looks like tight space from here. Fourth possession of that first half. No time, so it's end of the half. Bengals lead 14-10 at halftime. Coming out of the gate, third quarter. Delay run. Big run. 11 personnel. 12 personnel. My bad. I'm trying to get back to the start of this play. My apologies. Good Lord. There we go. 12 personnel coming out. And again, I talked about widening Kelce up and then utilizing a second tight end in the slot. That's what they did in their regular season game. All right, I kind of built that thought off of that. And then so what they do is they Jill ISO this guy in, and then he folds back to, I think that's Wilson, the backside inside linebacker. It's a cool play, a delayed run. When I say delayed, there's the mesh between Mahomes and the running back. You can imagine that with Bieniemy's mind, Andy Reid's mind, off of this delay run action, once they get that going early, you got RPOs and play action off of it. I think that's the plan. Fifth possession coming out of the gate, third quarter. Chiefs offense, 7 plays, 77 yards, touchdown. Sixth possession, so their second possession of the third quarter. You'll see the play in a moment. Touchdown to take a 24-17 lead. Mahomes dives into the end zone, fumbles, but the ball had already crossed the plane on a 4th and 3. The Chiefs take a 24-17 lead. Look, where's this run play? Boundary. I like what they're doing. They're moving the running back to the field and then running back to the boundary. I think I'll give you the all-22 in a moment. Chiefs O-line does a good job. There's space there. There's yards there. The Bengals do not want to roll their safeties down that often unless they're playing man. I'm talking about Jesse Bates and Von Bell, even though Von Bell is spectacular at it, tremendously underrated player. Tight end to the boundary. I think this is a tight end down here. If I'm mistaken, let me know. And then a second tight end. 12 personnel run into the boundary. They cannot be so predictable, though, in terms of 12 personnel run. 12 personnel run. They can't be so predictable against Lou because he's too smart and the Bengals defensive players are too smart. All right. Watch this running back. Same concept as what I showed you earlier. Very similar to a touchdown by J.K. Dobbins in the wild card playoff game. Crosses face all the way across. Too far for Logan Wilson to try to cover. No way for him to cover this. He's actually going to move from this alignment, but there's just no way if you sneak him across that running back isn't going to out-athlete him. It's just too much space, too much leverage. This is a concept that multiple teams have used against the Bengals in 2022, and the Ravens used it in a wild card game to good effect. This is that sixth possession that I'm talking about. Another thing I like that the Chiefs did is when they got this look, okay, sticks blitz 0. And sometimes the Bengals are going to drop a couple of guys out, move a guy down post-snap and play cover 3 or whatever they're going to play. But they were not trying to dink and dunk this. They went deep on it. And multiple other teams have. The Tennessee Titans shredded the Dolphins version of it. late 2021 regular season by throwing deep and or late screens on it. I would look for a possibility of a screen. Bengals defense is really smart. You got multiple guys open here. There's going to be a late developing, I think, dig here that's open. I think this is Valdez-Scantling open. CTB isn't playing this bad, but there's the possibility to throw the ball underneath, even though I just drew those two routes running into each other. Even though CTB looks like he would drive on it. The ball's already out. Open. If you're going to attack Mike Hilton, I do not think you attack Mike Hilton in a manner that forces him to come forward. I think he's an A-plus player on these angles here. I think he's A-plus player in this area here as well. Spectacular football player, playing great. Going backwards, I think he's it's a relative weakness. And when I say weakness, I don't mean like he's no good at it. I just mean that it's not his relative strength, and that's why he's a nickel. He's very good at what he does. If you ask me, he's one of the best in the league. Chiefs showed the blueprint for this play, and multiple teams used it in 2022 as well. Tight end screen off the run action into the boundary. Huge gain to Travis Kelce. 12 personnel. Fake the run action, screen off of it. I think you'll see that concept, maybe not the exact same play. I think you'll see that concept in this game. This is the drive that Mahomes scores on the dive over the end zone. Motion into the boundary, delayed run. It's not a delayed run, I guess. It's split zone. So maybe I was wrong there. It's not the one that Mahomes scores on. Split zone out of 11 personnel. End zone angle, same play, into the boundary. It's a designed cutback to get him cutting back into the boundary and then using the motion to just kind of disguise it, see what the Bengals will do. Watch what they don't do. So I should have mentioned that. They don't react to it. These guys don't react to it at all. And they hardly ever do. CTB tries to run across because he thinks it's man. They're willing to give you that area. I think the Chiefs have to take it. And I think they have to continue running the ball into the boundary until the Bengals change the structure of their defense to account for it and then attack them to the field. It's not that simple. I'm not saying it's just going to work because the Bengals will adjust, but it's one of those things that is there. All right, motioning Kelce from the boundary now over to the field, boot into the boundary. I think they've figured some things out. Am I saying that they're just going to work if they run these same plays again? Well, no. All right, the Bengals will adjust. They got talented guys. Turnovers are going to be a huge problem. How much will they want to boot Patrick Mahomes because of his injury? That's a valid question. Using Travis Kelce's gravity to pull Mike Hilton to the field. So Kelce just same play, all 22 angle, by the way. Kelce just motioned from the boundary to the field. Boot back down into the field. Looks like 13 personnel to me. And then they're getting this over route from the top side of the field. Kelce being used as bait to kind of pull Jesse Bates up, get the linebacker's attention. Wilson can't stay with that over route from the backside. Receiver speed. Great hit by Von Bell, don't get me wrong. Cool concept. I was wrong before. These are actually plays from the 6th possession. Third down, attacking Mike Hilton deep. I'm not saying it's just going to work. So if you're a Bengals fan that watches, don't get triggered and be like, oh, he's just saying Mike Hilton ain't no good. No, I'm saying that this is how you would attack him if you had to say, okay, do we want to run at Mike Hilton? No. Do we want to attack him in short space? A China out, a whip route, a slant? No. You try to find some matchup, and in this case, they've got a big receiver. I think it's Valdez-Scantling again. The video's a little grainy. My apologies. A bigger receiver with a lot of athleticism, clearly. They're attacking Mike Hilton. Clearing out that whole side of the field. Look at the other routes. I think it's Moore and Juju. Those routes are just clear outs. They're just bringing these guys out of here to clear up this space. The field side safety, goes with 24, goes with 3, because in 2021, the Bengals were playing a lot of this bracket on 3 coverage because the Bengals would put Tyreek Hill and various other guys as the number 3 receiver. So you get one receiver, is the guy closest to the sideline 2, and then the 3 guy was the guy who running verticals, running posts. So the Bengals would play this kind of like brackets. They're using it against them. The Bengals have some adjustments to make. They really do. And I'm saying that as a person who thinks incredibly highly of them. Hell, there's probably Ravens fans who hate me saying it. All right, here's the finally 4th and 3. when Mahomes dives in, gets the ball in the end zone. Bengals are fantastic in the red zone before he fumbles and there's a scrum over it, but it was ruled a touchdown. They're up 24-17 at this point. Seventh possession. You only get 2 plays out of it, but this is a huge play to Travis Kelce in the middle. And Jermaine Pratt, another very underrated football player, strips him around midfield, changes the game. By the time the Chiefs get the football back on their 8th possession, they're now down 27-24. What's my point in showing you guys all of this? Well, my point is I think the Chiefs have some things that they can do against Lou Anarumo's defense. I think the run game, especially with Mahomes' health, is an important thing to get established. They have averaged over 5.8 yards per carry in each of the last 3 games against them. I may be wrong there, but I know that they've only run the ball around between 23 and 25 times, something like that. And they've generally been running the ball well. The jet sweep is obviously a part of that, which is not a typical run play. The jet sweep into the boundary will be one of the first 5 plays that the Chiefs run, if you ask me, from under center, or at least the motion to make it look like jet sweep, and then a play built off of it. If it's not, then I'm really way off because it looks like something that's there because the Bengals will not rotate the boundary side corner down, and they will not rotate the boundary side safety down. They will take an inside linebacker and apex him out. They are very multiple. The Bengals are very smart. I expect them to be capable of stopping this Chiefs offense. I think it's possible the Chiefs may change some of the questions and try to force Lou Anarumo and the Bengals defense to make adjustments before halftime. In my opinion, that's the key. If they don't do some things and just continue to milk those situations, run into the boundary, the delayed run out of 11 personnel with the tight end leading, kind of similar to stuff the Bengals did last week in terms of the run game against the Bills. I think they need to force the Bengals to adjust before halftime and kind of get them on the back foot. I just don't know which analogy this is. Is it the street basketball game or outdoor basketball, pickup basketball game where the losing team has got kind of false bravado? Let's run it back. Let's run it back. Run it back, y'all. Don't go home. We're running it back. But they really, really don't believe. They're just saving face. Is it the Pistons and the Lakers where you just have more athletes, more physical guys committed to each other who play with great discipline on defense? I mean, you can talk about the Bengals offense all you wish, and I'm not anti-Bengals offense. I just think the defense is the superior unit. I do. I think their defense is what drives them. It's all those guys collectively who do things the right way and refuse to back down and refuse to give you an inch. So which analogy is true? Or I'll give you another one. This one, is it Marquez Pacquiao 4? Where Marquez KOs Pacquiao in spectacular fashion. That would be Mahomes and the Chiefs, using these things that I have mentioned, these kind of nickel and dime things, to then set up some play action, set up some big plays when they get the Bengals out of character. If the Chiefs can do that mid-second quarter, I would think they hit a big play because they get the Bengals to do something out of character. But it's extremely difficult to get them to do that. They're so disciplined, so smart, and tough. I can't believe Lou Anarumo isn't more of a option for people as a head coach. I thought he was older than he is. He's one of those guys that I admire because of his ability to be multiple, and his players have to be super smart anyway. They didn't come to Cincinnati as below average intelligence football players. They came there as smart guys, and that's probably why they signed some of the players they did. I really enjoy watching their team, except for 2 times a year. Well, in 2022, 3 times a year against the Ravens. I think they have been forged by the fire. My gut says take the Bengals because they're just so tough, and they've done it 3 times before. But there's a part of my brain that thinks that the Chiefs have things available to them to build plays off of to punish the Bengals for an overreaction to those things. Let me know what you think of my thoughts here, what you think of my preview. It's obviously a little late, but I wanted to get something out, to get my thoughts out there, to put myself on the line, to open myself up for criticism later if none of those things happen. But I threw 3 analogies out there. Let me know what you think is the more accurate in terms of the possible result. Is it false bravado by the Chiefs? And are they just going to get beat for the 4th time in a row? Which I guess the first 2 would be the same, would be synonymous, because the Lakers being just incapable of beating the Pistons that year, really. unless they just dump the ball down to Shaq every play. That would be the Bengals winning again. So those first two scenarios, those first two analogies, I should say, would be resulting in Bengals wins. And then the third one, is it a knockout for the team that's lost 3 times? Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other people would enjoy this content and this video and my commentary, please consider sharing the link on social media to help the video get more reach.